Warning, the following video contains strong language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
We got these four families that we hang out with. We call ourselves the campers. It's the Gruzins, the Fromkins, the Hayslips, and the Kreischers. Should call ourselves the Nazis with those names. It's fun that you can, like, we're all shitty parents. It's like no one calls each other on their shit. One time we're in Palm Springs, right? All four families. Oh, it's perfect. All the kids are the same age. They're running around on the fairway. All the parents are up by the condo having white wine so we feel skinny. And then all of a sudden, my oldest Georgia comes marching up the hill with a beaner bonnet like, "Mom, Dad, Isla's cursing." And you can see my wife's had a couple glasses of wine. She's like, "Oh." I go, "Don't worry, I'll parent this." I go, "Hey, Georgia, how about not being such a fucking snitch?" That's your little sister down there. You need to team up with her. You need to have her back. You should be supporting her. You should be cursing with her like, "Fuck it, suck it," you know? Light a homeless guy on fire. Whatever kids do. She looks at all the parents like, no one's gonna stop this horrible parenting right now? But my wife's had 2 glasses of wine and she's like, "Yeah, take the stick out of your ass, bitch." And Georgia looks at all of us like, "Okay, I guess I'm sorry?" I apologize, I just thought you guys want to know. She's saying the N-word, and we're like, holy shit. All of us are like, hold on, and I get in front of him like, hold on, maybe she's singing it. She's probably just singing it. Like, you can sing it, you totally can. If you buy the album, you can definitely sing it. I mean, you can't sing it if you're doing yard work, like, "Oh, I'm the hardest working," you know what I mean?
Just buy the album.
So we go down, and we get down there. I'm like, "What the fuck is going on down here?" And Lily Fromkin stands up. She goes, "Max, Carter, and Isla are all saying the N-word." I'm like, "What are you, recruiting people, Isla?" I go, "Baby, you cannot say that word." She goes, "Calm down, Dad. I can say it." I go, "No, you fucking can't." She goes, "Actually, Dad, I can. The teacher said you can say it if you are one." And all the parents are like, "You can't." I go, "Actually, I think that is the rule. I just don't know how that applies to you and 2 Jewish kids." And she stands up, looks me in the eyes, and goes, "Dad, I'm a nerd, Max is a nerd, and Carter's a nerd." And we're like, "Oh, you think the N-word's nerd?" And all the kids are like, "Yeah, what do you think it is?" And we're like, "Oh, it's nerd, it's nerd." My nerds, it's nerd. And we laugh hysterically at just how innocent our kids are. They don't even know the N-word. How great of parents are we? I'll put that shit on Facebook. Of course, the whole night, anytime a black guy walked by, I was like, "Nerd alert." The next day, we're in the lazy river. Me, Eric Gruzin, Stephen Fromkin. And we're floating behind these moms that are, you know, a little younger and hotter than our wives. Just letting them know the tiger still got claws. Georgia comes kicking up on an inner tube. She's like, "Dad, Isla's cursing again." I go, "Baby, I thought we talked about this." She goes, "Well, I thought you'd want to know. She's saying the C word." And these women are like, "Oh my God." I go, "Hold on, ladies, we've been through this. Georgia, what's the C word?" She's like, "Cunt." Nailed it. That is definitely the C word. Hadn't changed, has it, ladies? Woo. That'll wake you up, huh? I was laughing so hard. I couldn't parent the situation. And we're in a lazy river. These ladies have to keep up with us. So by the time we get to Isla, who's still saying it at the top of her lungs, like she's auditioning for a Guy Ritchie movie. Let's try another line. Like she just worked with Chelsea Handler. Anyway. She's not on Netflix anymore. We're fine. By the time we get to Isla, who's still saying it at the top of her lungs, I'm like, "Yo, Isla, you gotta stop saying that word." She's like, "Why?" I go, "It's a horrible word." She goes, "What's it mean?" I go, "You don't even know what it means?" She's like, no, I just heard someone say it and it's a fun word to say. Me, Eric, and Steven are like, you got that right. She goes, Dad, what's it mean? I'm like, whew, well, let's go ask Eric's wife. She's one, she'll tell you. She is too, I swear to God. She is, don't worry, I cleared this with her. Second I said that, Eric's like, if you're gonna tell that on stage, I would definitely run that by Lynn. And so that night at dinner, I tell the story and then I say, Lynn, I wanna tell it on stage, but the end of it, Lynn Gruzin's her name if you wanna Google her. I go, the end of it, I call you the C word. Would that bother you? She's like, no, why would it? And everyone at the table's like, oh. She goes, it's a joke, right? And I was like, yeah. Yeah, it's a joke. I leaned over her husband, I was like, I feel like the kid from The Sixth Sense. She doesn't know, does she? Here's the amazing part about that night is we got into a conversation with our wives, and my wife said that the C word is the N word for women. And I was like, you're wrong. I go, slut's the N word for women. She goes, no, don't tell me what my N word is. It's C word. I go, so you're telling me you'd rather be called a slut than a cunt? And she went, yeah. She goes, because I know I'm not a slut. And I was like, okay. Then by your math, you definitely are a cunt. And I learned a very valuable lesson that night. If you call your wife a cunt in public, no matter how hard she tries to stop it, she immediately becomes one. She was like, what did you just call me? I was like, it's happening right now. Do you guys see this? Everyone sees this, right? This is happening. But here's the disconnect, is that men find that sexy. Like, men definitely find, every man in here is like, oh, I'm with a little hint of cunt. I think it's hot. There's nothing sexier as a man than to watch your chick flex her cunt when you're not in the crosshairs, if you know what I mean. Like when a contractor talks down to her because she's a woman. You wouldn't know anything about that, ma'am. And you're like, oh, bro, you just summoned the cunt. This isn't like Candyman, you just gotta say it once. Oye, mira, ven acá, por favor. El canto aquí, ahora. Mira, mira. Canto, 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 canto. Canto, 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 canto. I gotta be honest with you, I'm all for this whole conversation that we're having with men and women talking up and men listening, because I never listened before. I never listen. And now I listen, but sometimes my family gangs up on me. Like the other night, we're at dinner, and Georgia's like, you're definitely a misogynist. I'm like, no, I'm not. And Leanne's like, yeah, well, actually, we're talking about it. You are. I go, excuse me? And then Georgia says, we don't like the way you talk to Alexa. Are you kidding me right now? She goes, we just think if it was a man, you'd treat it with more respect. I was like, it's not a man or a woman, it's a cylinder I bought and I'll throw in the fucking pool. And then one night, I get into a fight with Alexa. It's my fault, I'm drunk, right? I'm really drunk and I'm calling her Siri for like 2 hours. I'm like, turn on the fucking pool lights. And then I realize, I'm like, Alexa, and the one in the bedroom turns on. I'm like, bitch, shut up, I'm not talking to you. Alexa, clean the shit out of your ears and turn on the fucking pool lights. And my wife comes in, she's like, who are you yelling at? And I was like, no one, isn't that right, Alexa? Alexa's like, yeah, I fell. He's a good man, Leanne. It's my fault, the pool lights are on, Bert. If you think about it though, if Alexa was a man, if Alexa was a black man's voice, you treat it with more respect. Dude, let's talk about black people. Here we go.